Well, good morning. Good to see you guys here, and those of you who are joining us online. Well, the scripture this morning is pretty short. It's just one verse from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 9. I tell you, use the world's wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it's gone, you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. And that's part of a parable that Jesus told about wise ways to use our money. One good thing that came out of these two hurricanes is that it knocked our stewardship series down to just one message. So, but today's it. So we're glad you're here. And first of all, I want to say thank you. I appreciate St. Paul being the kind of church that you can preach a stewardship message in without it being awkward. Because it's awkward to talk about stewardship in a church where people don't give. It's awkward to talk about stewardship in a church where people don't think the pastor should talk about money. So I'm grateful to be in a church that understands stewardship, the church that not only gives financially to the mission of the church, but that gives with your talents and your time as well to help do the things that God has called us to do and be here in this place. And in the midst of all we've gone through in these last few weeks, I just want to say thank you. And this is not going to be a message of, this is how you ought to be good stewards. This is a message of thank you for being good stewards. Thank you for the generosity in your giving. Thank you for your generosity in your showing up to help people with repairs and cutting trees and all kinds of stuff going on. Just thank you for the way you come together and support each other and the way that you have continued through the year to support our community. We just finished a series called Wesley and Rooted, where we talked about some of those particular things that are in our DNA as Methodist followers of Jesus. And so I thought maybe this morning we would just go ahead and continue that. And I want to talk to you about some of the things that John Wesley had to say about stewardship and about money. John Wesley actually had a lot to say about stewardship and about money. And in one of his most famous sermons on stewardship, it was titled The Use of Money, he outlined his basic philosophy to life and to money and to material possessions. And it's really simple, and it really makes a lot of sense. It's 3 points. Make all you can, save all you can, and give all you can. That's Wesley on money. That's what he taught. And it's not to be confused with our cultural version of that, which is make all you can all you make, and then sit on the can. See, you see the difference in those two things there. But Wesley's version, make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. Say it with me. Make all you can, save all you can, give all you can. There you go. You're Wesleyan scholars now. So make all you can. There are some Christians who really just feel like money is in and of itself evil. There's some Christian denominations that in order to serve in full-time ministry, you have to take a vow of poverty. So a lot of people, see money as evil and bad. And the truth is, there's no doubt that money can pose a danger to our souls. The Bible warns us. 1 Timothy says, the love of money is the root of all evil. Because money can change people. And sometimes the change is not for the good. Jesus even warned us, you can't love God and money. You can't love God and material possessions. And then even John Wesley said this. He said, money never stays with me. It would burn me if it did. I throw it out of my hands as soon as possible, lest it should find a way into my heart. So, see, the thing about money and wealth is that it can make us become self-sufficient. And we begin to think we don't really need God because we can do everything on our own. Now, does it have to be that way? That's a choice. And it isn't that way with everybody, but that's the danger that we always have to be careful of. And so Wesley knew that danger when he said, make as much as you can. Now, of course, there's some stipulations with that. Make as much as you can in a way that's honest and that honors God. Don't make as much as you can by cheating workers out of their fair wages. Don't make as much as you can by intentionally doing some kind of inferior product or service. Make what you can, but do it in a way that's honest. And Wesley understood money can do a lot of good. I mean, there's a lot of good things can be done with money. It reminded me of a story. Years ago, there was this evangelist named D.L. Moody. He was a 19th century evangelist. And he was preaching this revival in New Orleans. And this guy came forward and made a commitment to be a Christian and gave his life to God and repented of all the things he'd been doing. And as it turns out, this guy owned several irreputable and illegal businesses. And he was quite wealthy. And like Zacchaeus, when he found salvation, he wanted to give that away, give a lot of that away. And so he gave a bunch of it to D.L. Moody's ministry. And some people on the board told D.L. Moody, they said, you can't accept this money because it's tainted money. And D.L. Moody said, the only problem with tainted money is there tain't enough of it. The devil's had that money long enough. Now we're going to use it for the kingdom of God. And I'm grateful that there are people who make a lot of money. Most every church I've been in has been the recipient of some people in the congregation who make a lot of money and who are generous with that money. And how important that is to the ministries of the church. We always hear stories about, selfish billionaires, and there's plenty of them. But, there are other folks like Bill Gates, his ex-wife Melinda, who've made a commitment to give away everything they have by the time they die. Warren Buffett has also made that commitment. As a matter of fact, there's a group that goes around trying to get millionaires and billionaires to make a commitment to give away all their money by the time they die. And you would be surprised how long that list is of people who have made the commitment, they've made all this money, and now they want to use it for something good. They want to help other people with it. And they want to give it away to something that actually helps other folks. Money can make a lot of good things happen. And then there's the rest of us. We make what we can. There's nothing wrong with that. Because at the end of the day, the more you make, the more you have to give away. And so that's a good thing. It's the generosity that counts because God has been generous to us. And then he said, save what you can. And most of us have been taught, the benefits of saving. Don't spend everything you make. And I understand that there are people in, these days that live paycheck to paycheck. You have no margins. He's not talking about that. He's talking about this tendency that we have that if we make a certain amount of money, we spend all of it. But then if we start making a lot more money, we just spend all that too. We live on whatever we make. And no matter how much we make, we're always broke. That's what he was talking about, that getting away from that kind of idea. It's important. It's smart to save for retirement. It's smart, to have money saved for emergencies. And it's smart, if there's something you want, to be able to save for it instead of get it now at 21% interest. That's all wise things. But that's still not what John Wesley was talking about. As important as those things are, he was talking about living a simple lifestyle so that we had more money left over that we could give to help others in need. And Wesley practiced this. When he was a student at Oxford, he lived on 28 pounds a year. And before he graduated, he had gotten up to 30 pounds a year. And so he continued to live on 28 pounds so he would have 2 pounds to give away. And when he became a professor a little later at Oxford, he was making 120 pounds a year. He decided to keep living on 30 pounds so he would have all that extra to give away, just to live a simple life so he had more to help with for others. And, like many American Christians, I struggle with this too, because we're always being told we need the next greatest thing, whatever it is. Our lives will not be complete until we have whatever it is they're selling. And so we're always tempted to buy things, and it's going to change our life, and we buy it, and after a month it really didn't change our life, and but we just keep doing it, And Wesley was talking about just living simply so that we have more to share with those around us. And the truth is, in our culture, that doesn't happen without being intentional. Because every day we are bombarded with consumerism and materialism, telling us what we need to have and how we need to have something else. And it takes an intentional effort to not give in to all of that. So giving it's a spiritual discipline, and it frees us from materialism and consumerism, because when you've got money left over and you can write a check to something you believe in, not only does that feel good, but that's a way of saying, I'm in control over where this goes. It doesn't control me. I control it. The more we save, the more we have to give away. If we spend it all on ourselves, then we don't have anything to give away. And that was Wesley's point. I heard it reminded me of a story I heard years ago, that there was this guy, lived in a small town, and he found himself in a really hard spot. He needed $100 to keep his lights on and to buy groceries for his family. And he was at wit's end. He didn't know what to do. So he wrote a letter to God. He said, "Dear God," and he told him the whole thing. He needed $100, the whole deal. And he put it in the mailbox. Well, when it showed up at the post office, they weren't sure what to do with it. So they gave it to the postmaster. Well, he opened it, read it, and just so happened this postmaster, in this little town, went to the Methodist church. So he went back to his church that Sunday, and he didn't tell the name, but he said, I got this letter, and there's this person needs $100. And so they took up a collection for him right there. Well, they got $50. So he put the $50 in an envelope with the church's address on it, no note, anything, just put the money in there, the church's address, and he mailed it to the guy. A week later, another letter came in the mail to God. So he opened it up, said, "Dear God, thank you for the $50. It really helped out a lot. But as you remember, I asked for $100. And so next time you send me money, don't send it through the Methodist church. They kept half of it." So, give all you can. And the third point makes sense of the first two. Because if you make all you can and you save all you can, then you have more to give. And our generosity is rooted in God's generosity towards us. And you already know that when you give, it just feels good. And to know that you're doing something good for someone else. It's a spiritual discipline, and it's important. The attitude of just wanting to help is what God looks at. It's not the amount, it's the attitude with which we give. I heard this story a long time ago, and every time I think of stewardship, I think about this. There's a little boy, he was 5 years old. It was his birthday. And his parents and his grandparents gave him birthday money. And so they gave it to him in ones, so it would seem like he had a whole lot of money. And he had 15 $1 bills in a stack. And he took it to church with him the next day. And while they were there was a missionary that Sunday. And the missionary talked about this really poor country where he lived, and he said that, they were going to take up an offering, and for every dollar you gave, he could feed a child for a month. And so they got ready to do the offering, and the little boy pulled his money out, and he took 3 $1 bills off, and he handed it to his mother. And she was so proud. Because, when you're a parent, you see your kid doing something generous, that's just wonderful. So she was so excited. She was so proud that he did this. And then he looked at her and he said, how many kids will that feed? And she said, that will feed 3 kids for a month. The little boy thought for a minute, gave her the whole stack, and he said, there, feed them all. There's a story in the New Testament about a boy who walked up to Jesus with a couple of fish and some bread. He said, here, feed them all. And Jesus did. Because he takes our gifts that are given in generosity, and he does more with them than we could ever imagine. So here's the deal. Monday, we're going to send out pledge cards to you guys and ask that you fill them out. And the reason we do this is because it helps us to make the budget. When we have some idea of what people are going to give in the coming year, it helps us to know better how to put a budget together. So, some of you don't like doing it, and you don't have to. That's fine. I understand. But if you don't mind, it's not a legal contract. We don't, if you get behind, Tony Soprano doesn't knock on your door. It's nothing like that. It's a tool that helps those of us who put the budget together to kind of have an idea. So if you can help us, that'd be great. And then on November 9th, we're going to take all the ones that have been turned in, and we're going to have a time to ask God to bless them and multiply them and use them for ministry here through St. Paul and in our community. I really think Wesley was on to something. I think it's a good way to live. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I want to close with Wesley's own words. He wrote, money is an excellent gift of God. It answers the noblest ends. In the hands of God's children, it is food for the hungry, drink for the thirsty, clothing for the naked. It gives a traveler and a stranger somewhere to lay his head. It may even help supply the place of a husband to the widow and the father for the fatherless. We may be a defense for the oppressed, a means of health to the sick, of ease to those who are in pain. It may be as eyes to the blind, as feet to the lame. Yes, it is a lifter up from the gates of death. Say Wesley's 3 points with me. Make all you can. Save all you can. Give all you can. John Wesley would be proud.